Salutations. Um, Today we'll talk about Moses. So, the 10 plagues of Egypt. Well, we have here water turning to blood, frogs, lice and flies, livestock, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the killing of the firstborn children. I can explain all this, and it has nothing to do with God. The water turning to blood, okay? That, there was actually a volcano that went off at the time. They've actually proved this. That darkened the skies, okay? So we just eliminated the darkness. Now, the water turning to blood. That was red algae, okay? Now, from the red algae, frogs came out of the water. Frogs, without water, because of the algae turning to blood, can't live. So they died without the water, which is where you got flies and lice. Okay? Now the livestock and pestilence. Okay? Now, the reason why the livestock was dying off was because the weather changed and they didn't have enough to feed everyone. So that's why the livestock started dying off. Now the pestilence, okay, and the boils. This and the flies and the lice all came from the dead frogs, the livestock dying, okay, the red algae which made everything leave the water, and the volcano going off also screwed up all of nature, which made the swarm of all the stuff that was eating their crops, right? That's all because they had to change direction and things like that because of the weather and the volcano going off and the things happening. And that's how the hail was also happening because the skies are darkening out, the temperatures all dropped, and you can see all this. Now, how did the firstborn children all die? Well, they say firstborn, but what they mean is the youngest. Okay? Now, when their food was running scarce, the Egyptians tried to keep it all for themselves, not for the Israelites. So, that's why the Israelites didn't get sick and things like that nearly as much as the Egyptians. Now, the reason why none of the Israelites' children died was because they weren't given the grain and things like that because the Egyptians were keeping it for themselves. Well, when they were keeping it for themselves, okay, they were in a hurry to put all that grain away so that flies and pestilence and stuff like that would not get at it. Well, they put it away damp, because you got to remember it was hailing, and it's dark out, and all these other things. So it got moldy. Wheat mold can kill children and infants. It will not kill adults. You'll get very, very, very sick, almost to the point where you'll have boils and things like that, and other things, because of all the other things that are contributing here, right? No clean water, no sunlight, which is lack of sunlight. Animals all going crazy. Like, you can see all this. Like, all these things make sense. Okay? You can actually see the 10 plagues and why it all was a chain reaction due to the volcano. And then the part with the children all dying first, that's kind of because they didn't know about fungi. So, truth be told. Now, I'm not even done with this. So when he left Egypt, okay, I'm going to read you some things from the Bible first, okay? Now, I got a couple passages here. Just bear with me, and I'll read them, and then you'll understand why I'm reading these, because I'll explain. Okay? So, under Exodus chapter 16, verse 13 and 14, okay? So we have, "And the evening of quill came up and covered the camp, and in the morning dew lay around the camp, and when the dew had gone up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flake-like thing, fine as a frost on the ground." So it's white, and it's light, and it's on the ground, like a powder. Keep that in mind. So now we'll go to 22, and then 31, okay? So in 22, "On the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread to almost each. And when all the leaders of the congregation came out and told Moses, he said to them, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Tomorrow is a day of solemn rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake what you will, and bake and boil what you will, and all that is left lay aside to be kept for the morning." Okay? So he's talking about, from the first verses, 13, 14, this white, flaky, powdered stuff from the dew. Okay? In the morning, keep that in mind, in the morning, they collect it and made in the bread. That's what we're learning so far. So number 31 in chapter 16 of Exodus. Now the house of Israel called its name manna. It was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like a wafer and made with honey. Actually sounds pretty good, just saying. Now, chapter 17, verse 6. Behold, I will send before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it. So right here. And water shall come out of it, and the people will drink. So, hitting a rock and water. Okay? Why did I read you all those passages? Okay? There's a reason why. So remember, white flaky powder, dew in the morning, striking a rock with the staff. Okay? Well, let's go to Wikipedia. White powdered gold. White powdered gold, right here. White powdered gold in form of white powder and has alleged medical values, sorry. So it has alleged medical values. White gold, okay? Now, ingredients, okay? Listen to this. Monatomic gold is an unusual substance, often called a stone when it's not in monatomic gold. It is made from gold that has been heated in a lab to the temperature of the sun. It's transmuted into a fine white powder which weighs only around half of its original weight of gold. Okay, so half of its original weight. This powder in a lab test has been shown to be able to alter gravity, space, time, and seemingly the consciousness of humans who consumed it. It was so highly revered in ancient times that a cult called the Great White Brotherhood was set up in its honor. Okay? Now over here, okay, the sacred gold of ancient Egypt, tales from the East, European, blah, blah, blah. Here's an interesting one. Marco Polo, in wherever this place is, writes that Far Eastern civilizations have been eating gold for votive purposes since ancient times. Like the Egyptians, they believed that feeding on the precious metal attracted the favor of the gods. Okay? So, we know now, okay, that white, flaky substance in the dew was actually the white gold. Now, there was also another one, and it could be translated like this. Basically, the white gold was made in the bread. How did he do that, and why? The reason why he did was because when he went up on Mount Sinai, he got the 10 Commandments when he was talking to God, and he came back down. When he had them in his hands, these 10 Commandments, he seen what his people were doing, which was worshiping a calf. So he threw the 10 Commandments down, which is how they got cracked. Because all of the Israelites, while he was up there, took their jewelry and stuff, melted it down to make a golden calf to worship because they were hungry and they were thirsty. He basically melted down the gold of the calf to anatomic gold and basically made bread to feed his people. Now, in the story where it says God told him and commanded them to hit the rock with the staff, well, that is not a miracle either, because we already know in the deserts that the density of some of the stones actually attracts the moisture, and when you hit them and crack them a certain way, they will leak water, which is how they drank their water. So we established how he fed the people scientifically. We know through nature how he basically got water for his people. And the Red Sea, well, that actually parts every year on its own. You can actually look it up. And when he first left Egypt, before he went back to get his people, if you actually look at the map, he would have been close enough in that area to have at least known or heard, or from his wife's family or passing travelers, about the Red Sea. So it's not unlikely that he didn't know it. But out of that whole story, the only thing that really is a miracle is the sole fact that his staff turned into a snake. That is the only thing in that whole passage of story that actually can't be explained through nature or science or anything. So, next time you read passages in the Bible, just kind of keep a look on them and actually have an open mind, not just look at the words. Look at the words, what they might mean, the science of them, and then actually look at the definitions of words, and then look at the time period, because some of the words had different definitions in certain time periods too. And that's where a lot of you people are getting screwed up, is that it went from Latin to English. Constantine voted on the Bible. There's 14 apocryphal books that are not in the Bible. Georgian Orthodox read 3 of the Maccabees books out of 4. Roman Catholics read 2. And basically, a lot of the other Christian religions don't read them at all. And it's quite sad. And it's like the Book of Judah. In the Book of Judah, Judas was not a bad person. He was actually Jesus' best friend, and Jesus actually asked him to hand him in. And in the Judas text, he never got 30 pieces of silver for handing over Jesus, because that wasn't what God commanded him to do. And it's also funny that people look at the Last Supper, the image of the Last Supper at the table, the famous painting. What a lot of people don't realize is there is a hymn somewhat translated into the actual image, which is cool, pretty cool. Had to know a lot of science and math about that. But there's actually astrology too, because if you count, there's actually 13. And there's 13 astrology, properly, not 12. Look it up if you don't believe me. There's also 13 months, not 12. And again, look it up. And basically, what happened was everything changed. So the time periods changed, the months times changed, the translations in the Bible have changed. It's changed languages. It was voted on. So you really have to read through it. And you might want to read the apocryphal text of the 14 books, because a lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of things might not be accurate too, because like in the Bible, it actually states that the Israelites had to battle the pagans of Moab, but the thing, which were also Jewish, they were the pagan Jews according to the Jews of Israel. But the thing is there's a stone that actually depicts from the Moabite civilization that it was actually the Israelites that actually came and attacked their cities first, which started the war. So, take with a grain of salt, because what are you going to believe? A stone that's as tall as I am and as wide as I am that has carved into it that somebody couldn't change? Or do you want to believe in this, where somebody could have voted on it and changed the words or the meanings or the definitions over time? Not saying it's not true, but people look at it as everything, when really you should look at it as knowledge, history, and scientificness, and then look at it as Holy Scripture last. Because then you'll actually get a greater concept of this. So, till next time.